Hello friends. Some 15 years ago, I was waiting for a family group in Vilnius airport. The family had to come from Mexico. And when we met, the head of the family, Mr. Mauricio, told me that his last name is Merikanskas. I thought at once, supposed where he can come from Lithuania. And I asked him, where were your roots in Lithuania? And he told me, Merkine, putting an accent on the first syllable. I told him, Meretch. Oh, you had to see him, how happy he was when he heard the Jewish name of the settlement. Yes, of course, Meretch. Do you know this village? I told him, of course. And I know the Jews called it Meretch in our Mameloshen. Later on, I explained them where from comes their last name. Merikanskas, Merkine. They are from the same root. It means that their family comes from this place. And that was really so. We visited that place, and we are going to show you this little Lithuanian provincial town today. We are going to show the marketplace, the church in its center, the Jewish houses that were around the marketplace, the synagogue, 2 synagogues, Jewish cemetery, Jewish shops, former of course, Jewish shops, Jewish workshops. Unfortunately, in many Lithuanian shtetls there is a massacre place that we will visit as well. But we'll finish at the very nice place in the area here, the hill of Merkine or Merkine-Meretch. From it, a beautiful view opens on the rivers Merkis and Nemunas. There were many historical battles in the area in the vicinity of Merkine between the Teutonic Order and the Lithuanians, between the Swedes and the Russians, between the insurgents of Tadeusz Kościuszko and the Russian rule. Merkine's location is very, very good because it is at the conjunction of the 2 rivers, the big river Nemunas and the smaller river Merkis. Merkine comes from the name of the river Merkis. And this was also, of course, strategic crossroad from Kovna to Grodno and from Vilna to Suwałk, that's in Poland. Also, thanks to the rivers, there were commercial and trade ways, roads, that the residents, the local residents, could sell a lot of timber because Merkine is surrounded by the forests. The first Jews appeared in Merkine, in Meretch, as they called it, in 16th century. And of course, they did their living by commerce, trade, shops, workshops, crafts, and so on. There were 3 synagogues in Meretch. The big one, this one, it was a shul, then there was Beit Midrash, and then there was a klois. And the shul was used only for Shabbat and for high holidays. And every day they used to pray in Beit Midrash. Also in Beit Midrash they used to learn Gemara, Mishnah, and so on. And klois had their own worshippers. It was wooden, and unfortunately it was burned during the World War II. On this side of the market square In this house once was the Jewish bank, Yiddish Volksbank, and this bank was arranged in 1907 by the initiative of the local Jewish residents, and they had 325 depositors, and this bank played a very important role in the economical and commercial life of Merkine. On this spot once there was a candy factory that owned by the Jews, by Chobatsky family, and they produced, and the factory was called Zukia. Zukia is an area in Lithuania where we are now. There is a restaurant that also has a similar name, Zucchina, also connected to the name of the area of the place. And from that time we have even today candies, for example, cancer necks, here they are, or douches, here they are, or bonbon, like this. And of course all the local people, especially children, loved these candies very, very much. By the initiative of the residents of Merkine today were arranged symbolic doors of numerous shops that existed here, and almost all the shops, they belonged to the Jews. How many Jewish crafts and shops were in Meretch? According to the government survey of 1931, there were 3 Jewish grain merchants, 5 textile shops, 12 various other shops. The Jews owned 6 flour mills, 2 sawmills, a cloth painting workshop, a soft drink factory, a leather processing workshop, a brick factory, a candy factory that we spoke already, a sewing workshop, blacksmith. In addition, there were tailors, stitchers, shoemakers, bakers, and many, many others. A lot of Jewish business, actually almost all business in Meretch was in the Jewish hands. In this house that is behind me, on May 20, 1648, died the King of Poland and the Grand Duke of Lithuania, Vladislav Vasa. He was son of Sigismund III, the famous Polish king. He was from Vasa dynasty that ruled over Sweden, Lithuania and Poland. And on his way back to Poland, to the capital, to Warsaw, he died here in this little town. Lithuanians, as it is known, they are Catholics. But they were the last pagan nation that accepted Christianity in the Roman Catholic form. And this church, the oldest Catholic church in southern Lithuania, the Church of St. Mary of the Assumption, was built in 1615 by the family Pacas, one of the most noble and famous families in Lithuania. And one can see the architecture of this family, of this church. It's really a pure Baroque. One can see the walls, one can see the decorations and the structure of the church that is very typical for Lithuania. All Zionist parties were represented in Meretch. There was Vitz organization, dominant political party was Itachdut. There were youth movements such as Gordonia that had over 80 members, Dror, Shacharia. There were leftist youth movements such as Hashomer HaTzair, Echalutz, and so on. And many of them prepared themselves for Aliyah to Eretz Israel, and there they settled usually in different kibbutzim, in Yagur, Givat Brenner, Kiryat Masarik, Yagur, and different others. So we have a lot of members of kibbutzim that are coming from Meretch in Lithuania. The old Jewish cemetery of Meretch is functioning from the 18th century, and this cemetery is in a relatively good condition because the tombstones, the matzevot, didn't fall, and they are here. Nothing has stolen them. In 1935, the president of Lithuania, Antanas Smetona, came to visit Meretch, and he was greeted by, first of all, he was greeted by the local rabbi, Michael Stupel. And only after him, the non-Jewish residents of Lithuania, of Meretch, came to shake hand to President of Lithuania. By the same occasion, President Antanas Smetona brought medals for 3 fighters of the War of Independence of Lithuania, Jewish fighters. Their names were Dresner, Kadish, and Kopitsky. And in honor of them was put here a memorial stone for the fighters for independence of Lithuania. Despite a quite good condition of the cemetery, it's very hard to read the inscriptions on the matzevot, on the tombstones. But there is technique that allows us to read it very, very easily. For that you need the shaving cream and a shtetl, and that's all. And here, by occasion, I have it with me, and I brought here to show you how we do that. We take the shaving cream and we put it on the stone, and here we can read already all the letters, and they are readable very easily. Here you see Pei Nun, here rests somebody. Now we'll learn who is buried here. Okay, I will ask, you need a bit to work on the stone. Here is a lot of text. Something important was buried here, or maybe there are some poem or verses put on the stone. That was also very usual. And here you can read easily all the text. And it doesn't hurt the stone at all. Even on the contrary, it cleans the stone because it is cream. What do we have? Ishatz Noah, Toiba Feiga, Bat Reb Ber Arelesher, and she passed away. Here we have the year, right? No, it is not that. We cannot see it because it is there in the ground, but we know who is buried here. The Germans occupied Lithuania in June 1941, and since Merkine is close to the Polish border, it was one of the first towns that were occupied by the Germans. And they start their persecutions of the Jews here. First of all, they were sent to different forced labor works, and then at the end of August they concentrated the Jews in the Schulhof, in the courtyard of the synagogues. They were kept there for several days, and on September 10th, 1941, they all were brought here. Here were already ready 2 pits. They were in a form of trench, like this. The pits were excavated by Jewish men. Those who made this terrible job, they were first to be killed here on the spot. And then the rest of the Jews of the Meretch Jewish community were brought here, and on the edge of the pits, and in the pits, they were shot dead here. After the war, the Soviet Investigation Commission evaluated the number of victims, and they came to the number of 854 Jewish victims of the Holocaust. They were men, women and children, and here this memorial plaque was put here after 1990, after the last independence of Lithuania, and it says in Lithuanian and in Yiddish, zum Ondenk von die jiddische Kehille von Meretch und Lischkewe, one more settlement not far from Meretch, die Nazis und die lokale Mörder haben dem 10. September 1941 auf dem Ort umgebracht 854 litwische Jiden, Männer, Frauen und Kinder. We sought to show you little town Merkine in southern Lithuania, to show the beauty of the scenery around the town, to tell you the story of its residents, to show the architecture of the town, to tell the story of the Jewish community that existed here for several hundred years, and to speak and to visit the sad places where the Jewish community was annihilated. The nature of Lithuania is much more noble and beautiful than the deeds of some of its representatives. And we would like to finish on that optimistic note, to show you the view from and the mound that is here located on the conjunction of the two rivers. And we'll be happy to get your opinion on our video episodes and to get assessments on our work. Thank you very much. See you in our next video episodes.